All right, I'm gonna kick this off with our first DocsBot music video. This will be fun.
In a world where questions rise and answers hide behind the lines, DocsBot spans a guiding light, turning chaos into sight. No more searching, no more wait. Instant answers set the pace for your team or for your crowd. DocsBot speaks your knowledge loud. From your docs, from your guides, AI whispers, A writes. Customer care, team support, every answer, every port. Pre-sales calls and onboarding flows. Customer love, it only grows. Automate, eliminate the strain. Let AI take on the mundane. No more searching, no more wait. Instant answers set the pace. From the queries, from the calls, DocsBot handles one and all. From your docs, from your guides, AI whispers, A writes. Customer care, team support, every answer, every port. Scale your reach, no time to lose. Handle thousands, let them choose. Keep it clear, keep it fast. AI knowledge built to last. Internal docs and secret plans. Teams unlock what knowledge spans. No more digging, no more delay. DocsBot leads the fastest way. No more searching, no more wait. Instant answers set the pace. Fearless handoffs, human touch. AI smooths, AI trusts. From your docs, from your guides, AI whispers, A writes. Customer care, team support, every answer, every port. DocsBot flows where knowledge lies. Answers fast, no compromise. Build it free, no price to start. Let AI be your beating heart.
All right, everyone, welcome to DocsBot week. We are excited to kick this off. This is our first time really doing a live event, so bear with me if there's any technical difficulties. Been trying to get it all set up, but we are recording it and streaming to YouTube, so if you get cut off or dropped off, you can jump on YouTube later on and watch this again and see some of the cool stuff that we are revealing today. So thanks everyone for joining and being with us. It is our 2-year anniversary. Well, technically it was beginning of March, so 2 years and 2 months, but can't believe we come so far. It's been quite the journey. Just kind of going over kind of a quick background of our story. I served as the chief technical officer at a large WordPress products company, web development company, and always built cool tools for them and different things like that, but always kind of dreamed of starting my own business, and I loved playing with the latest technology, whatever that may be, cloud, different things, and built all kinds of cool products. And when this AI stuff just started coming out, I realized I do not need to miss another wave. I believe that this AI stuff is the future. So just really learned all about it, started experimenting with it, playing with it in that current business there. And one of the first things I built when the GPT, this is right when ChatGPT first came out and blew everyone out of the water, with this new technology, how it could just do things for you, just by asking. And so one of the first kind of experiments I built was for our internal support team there at that company, just a tool that could learn from some of our like kind of basic documentation and provide answers. And this was very early. This was like brand new technology. Like people had just started like inventing it and playing with it in like that same month. And the APIs to be able to access like ChatGPT, it was GPT 3.5 right then. They were just starting to become available. So we actually launched DocsBot beginning of March, the same week that the GPT 3.5 API was released, which is ChatGPT basically. And so it was very timely. We were one of the first to the market in kind of this niche, and we just took off from there. We went viral in Japan, of all places. And so hi to all our amazing Japanese customers who we love and who have helped support our business. And for everyone else around the world, it's truly a global company. And it's been exciting to see how much it's grown over the last few years. And we've added new features and tried very hard to keep up with all the crazy latest changes that are happening in this AI field, whether it's new models, whether it's new techniques, so many different things. And we just want to immediately release it to the platform as soon as we possibly can. Sometimes that's delayed because we got to make sure we're taking care of our current customers too, not just throwing new things out there that aren't finished and working well. But let me introduce you to the team. We have we've kind of grown to a team of 6 right now. And so of course I had to use AI to make a little thing. So we have me, of course, the AI whisperer, Aaron. See, there I am. And there's Keisha, and she helps out with a lot of the content and editing and the blog and emails and things like that. And then Justice on the laptop there. He's also helping out with all kinds of different marketing things. And Clara. Clara's amazing. She's over in the Philippines, and she's our marketing admin, and she's the one that's writing up a lot of these emails, creating cool designs, doing all kinds of things behind the scenes to make DocsBot work. And then in the back, we have 2 developers beside myself. They shall remain nameless, but they're back there in the basement, always coding, always working on new things for you. So that's the team right now. We're probably going to keep growing as the business grows, and we want to make sure we serve your needs well. And so that's great. Now I want to premiere kind of our first little commercial. So we hired a really talented person to kind of make this for us, and now it's on our homepage. But I'm going to play that real quick before we start showing off some of the new features that we're launching this week. So here's the DocsBot intro. I'm going to go ahead and play our first demo for you since that is working, I believe. So the first demo, we're going to kind of go over our new widget and how we've redesigned it. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing I want to demo is our new chat widget. So we've done a pretty big redesign. This is kind of my local example page where I have it embedded on. And you can see the button kind of a little bit squared off instead of round. You can still customize all the colors and icons and everything just like you could before. But the whole thing has gotten a fresh new coat of paint. So kind of the first thing that you see is we have this little footer link here, and that's something you can customize. You can add markdown to do add links and things like that. So a common use case would be adding like a disclaimer, like by starting a conversation, you agree to our privacy policy, something like that. And so that is fully customizable now in the widget settings. And then your example questions that you set, they'll show up here randomly, just kind of similar to before. So you could talk to, or so you can ask those kind of questions just by clicking it right there. And so once the conversation started, we actually shrink the header to make some more room for the conversation to be able to be seen. And everything else kind of functions the same, although the way we display sources is a bit different now, especially using our agent mode. So we have like sources there, and then if you have it turned on in your settings to collect feedback, the AI will respond with a feedback message to try to collect feedback more reliably. This is instead of doing the up and down thumb buttons like we used to do in the old design. So now it'll actually customize it. So sometimes it might say, did that answer your question about pricing? Or different things like that, because it's an actual AI generated response after giving an answer to the question. So the user, they can choose, yeah, that helped. And then that is still recorded in your stats. It's recorded in your logs, but it's much more fluid, much more natural for the user to do it in a conversational flow. And you can see it's having these follow-up questions where it's able to give a lot more better answers, based on the overall context. Um, let's try something else. Let's say, how do I connect to Zapier? Now, the nifty thing about this is since we're using our new agent API in the backend, it's not just going to be doing things assuming that every single message is a question. So in this case, it knew it was a question. So it actually looked up your training documentation, provide a good answer, and giving you links to the sources. And the same thing. Was it helpful? Let's say no this time. And so that was actually recorded in the stats. And this is our new human escalation tool. So there's actually a tool in there in the agent that's listening and to the overall conversation and trying to detect like if they're getting frustrated, if they ask to talk to a human, if they say I hate AI, things like that. And you can customize that with your prompt as behavior. But it'll kick in and it will confirm with them. I understand. Shall I connect you to the support team for further assistance? And so it actually kind of knows to give a much more seamless escalation instead of just a link. So let's say no thanks in this case. And so it knows, it kind of knows contextually that that's not another question that it needs to answer. It just knows that it's a normal chat flow, like you're talking to ChatGPT or something like that. I'll say, actually, I want to talk to someone. So it's going to detect that like intent, and we're actually recording in your stats and analytics, we're recording intent. So if the AI detects that they intend to escalate, and then we track if they actually click to escalate. So if we click to escalate, that will actually trigger the whole response process, whatever you have programmed, whether that's visiting a link, whether that is um, sending them to like another support widget or sending them to your ticket page. And a really cool thing that we have now is we actually generate a support ticket now from the conversation. Um, So if you're using our JavaScript embed code or JavaScript event to where you can do a custom event, then you can actually grab the AI will summarize this entire conversation as a support ticket, and then it will send that to you JavaScript event, so you can use that to pre-fill a form or pre-fill like your support ticket in a different widget like Help Scout or something like that. Um, so overall, it's a much more seamless flow the way a new chat widget works. And it has kind of a fresh new coat of paint and a new design. All right, well, let's just show our next demo then. Okay, one of the first things I want to show you that I'm most excited about is our agent mode. So our bots are going from just plain old boring question and answer chat bots to actual AI agents, which means that they understand the whole conversation contextually, that they can call tools on behalf of the user to perform different actions, and it's going to unlock a lot of really neat new features, some of which we're launching now, some which will be coming up in the coming months. But I'll kind of show a little bit about that. Now, we did kind of cover the widget a little bit, and that's kind of where you can turn on and off for now, the agent mode with the switch here. And that's going to be on by default for new bots. For old bots, we're not going to opt you into there immediately. Going to let you do that yourself because there might be some things that you need to change and adjust with your prompts and things like that. So once you opt into that, it does enable some new tools. So we have our escalation tool, which we demoed in the widget. You can turn it on and off now, so you don't have to always collect escalation if you don't want to. Our feedback tool, so now instead of just the plain rating buttons, it's actually like prompting and asking for feedback in a dynamic way. So you can turn that on and off. And I mentioned the footer text setting, so where you can put in something like a privacy policy link or something like that in your footer. You can do that now easily right there in your settings. And so now also we've updated the chat in the dashboard. So it looks pretty much the same, but it's powered by the new agent mode on the back end. So before, if I just said something like hello, I mean, that would be fine. It would respond usually. But if I asked a question and then did something that wasn't a question after that, the bot would often get confused because it doesn't always understand the context of the entire conversation. So let's see, let's say, I want to know about Google Drive source. So now it's kind of detecting if something is a question where it needs to look up information and look up documentation for, provide the responses. And so that those kind of answers are a little bit slower because it has to do that lookup step and everything like that. But if I said like, okay, thanks, like before in the old non-agent, it might respond and kind of repeat the answer again because it doesn't really understand that every message is not a question. It could be a back and forth conversation with the bot. So now it can be a lot more helpful that way. Okay, thanks. Again. So this is powered for everyone kind of by the new agent mode because it's just so much better in the back end. And then the most important thing is now we are actually saving conversations. So before we had our question logs, which basically every single message the user would ask, we would just save that to your log. And probably half to 60% of those are just things like, okay, thanks, or hello, or hi, things like that are not useful at all. So now we're actually only recording to your question logs, like the real support questions as they come up where it needs to look up the documentation and things like that. So we wanted to preserve the conversations. You can actually see the whole context of the conversation that the user had with the bot. So now we have this whole new conversation view, and this is probably going to be your primary view, not our old question logs. This is where you can see in the sidebar all the recent conversations that users have had. And then when you click on any of them, you can jump into that conversation really quickly and see details about it, metadata at the top. and you can see obviously the whole back and forth conversation. You can see if users like rated a question, and you can actually jump in and override or rate them yourself in the dashboard. And I mentioned also question logs. We still maintain that link to them, so it preserves a link to the question logs, so you can actually see the details of that, like kind of Q&A kind of thing. And then we also have, what we do is we kind of generate like a title for each conversation. And that's kind of generated dynamically as the conversation goes. So it's going to start out just with the first message, and then it's going to be the first like actual support question kind of thing that they ask. It'll take that and the AI is actually rewriting that to be like a standalone question. So what is the Google Drive source? So that's kind of the new title. But let's say the conversation went on to the point, where they're talking about multiple subjects and things like that. It could be a little bit trickier. And so we're actually going to have automatic summary generation. So basically after a certain period of time, I think we're going to start with 12 hours. We're going to go through and actually all the recent conversations and run a quick AI summarization of them. But meanwhile, I can generate a summary right now in the dashboard if I'm there before that job kicks in. So now it gave it like a new title, which is basically the same thing. And you can see like a brief summary of the conversation. So now, like when you're going through the different conversations, you can get like quick summaries of what they're talking about without actually reading through the whole thread. So yeah, that's a pretty neat thing. And then the other part of this is tracking stats. So instead of just tracking stats and analytics by user question, especially when a lot of the questions aren't actually like a support question or something like that. A lot of the questions might just be hello or okay, thanks, so tracking ratings on that isn't useful. So now we're actually doing different things of classifying. So we have our resolve status. So by default, the AI is classifying as the conversation goes, whether or not it's resolved or not. And that's based kind of on the general user conversation and whether or not it was able to answer the questions as determined by the AI, and also the ratings. So now let's say a user in the conversation, the last time they gave feedback and say, yeah, that helped, right? If I refresh this, now I can see that the resolved turned into confirmed resolved by the user. So now I can see it's not only like classified, but we're actually tracking whether the user confirmed it was resolved or not as well. And then the other thing that we track, this goes along with the summarization, is sentiment of the conversation. So we'll have time-based stats and charts and things like that. So you can see like the sentiment, like how many negative interactions you have versus neutral versus positive, that kind of thing. So if I go to this one, this is neutral. It's marked unresolved because the user, in some of their latest responses, actually rate it as unhelpful, right? And so we have that, so you can kind of see what those different statuses look like. And then the other thing that we track by conversation now is escalated status. So say this user has this long conversation, and if they choose to escalate it, then we track that stat. And as I mentioned kind of in our widget demo, is we actually track two versions of this. We have escalation intent. So that's if the AI determined that they're asking to talk to a person, or that they're extremely frustrated and needed to be escalated to live support. And if they do, that will just show like intent here, and that will be kind of faded out. And then if they actually click the escalation button, then we'll track that as well. So we have like 6 whole new stats, and we're going to be exposing all those in your dashboard analytics reports here very soon. Once we start collecting that data, we'll be able to update it and have statistics that are based on conversations and not just your question logs. So it'll be able to show your CSAT scores, customer satisfaction, different things like that, plus all the different levels of escalation and things like that. So we're really excited to give you a lot more data to work with your bots. Yeah. So that's kind of a brief overview of kind of our agent thing, and there's going to be a lot more tools coming beyond just our first two, which is the feedback collection and human escalation. There's going to be tools to perform all kinds of actions and probably integrate with popular apps and things like that, like Stripe or maybe WooCommerce or different things like that. So your bots can actually perform actions on behalf of users. So we're excited to see where that goes. So I was going to kind of review some of the stuff that we launched last year because it is a lot. A lot of things happen in the AI world, like GPT-4o models launched, which were way cheaper and way smarter than the previous GPT-4 and 3.5. And we also released, we added GPT-4o Mini as included with your plans. So before, when we first launched, some of these AI costs were really high, especially GPT-4. And so we kind of forced everyone to add their own open AI API key. And now we don't actually require that anymore. We include GPT-4o Mini with your plan. But what an exciting announcement that we have this week is the new GPT 4.1 was just released. Gosh, only a week ago. I can't believe that. It's faster, it's smarter, it's a bit cheaper, and we're excited to announce that we're going to include the GPT 4.1 mini model with your plan. So no extra cost, you don't have to add an API key. And when you look at like the benchmarks for this, it is pretty amazing. Like Mini, don't be fooled by Mini. Mini is almost the same as the old GPT-4o model. It's just faster and more affordable. It's not quite as good at code if that's what you're looking for, but it's better at instruction following. It's better at general knowledge. It's better at understanding images. It can handle much longer conversations. It's faster, and it's still pretty cost efficient, enough so that we're able to include that with your plans without doing any changes. So that's kind of an exciting release that we're going to be announcing this week too. And then some of the other things is over the last year we launched a ton of new training data sources. We did have a interesting issue where our previous provider was called Carbon, and they allowed us to like connect your bot to Google Drive, SharePoint, Box, all kinds of different things like that. Well, Perplexity bought them. Perplexity is the big AI company, with like $5 billion in funding. And so they went out, bought them, and they said, you got a month before we shut it down. So we had to kind of delay the beginning of this year, scrambling to kind of replace a lot of those cloud connections. Our most popular one being Notion and Google Drive. So happy to say we found a new provider that we're working with. We've been able to launch a lot of those cloud connections, and we've been able to launch some new ones too, like learning from support tickets and different things like that we did not have before, and really empower your bots beyond what they used to be able to do. Last year, we also launched training from YouTube videos, lots of little things like upgrading our embedding models so it can find documentation better, especially like in other languages like Japanese. LaTeX like math display support in the chatbots, adding like code views in the widget, different things like that. We launched user roles for teams, and the ability to like show analytics for all of your bots combined together. So that was useful for especially like our bigger businesses and enterprise where they want to invite people to like have view only access or things like that to your bots. Adding Excel source types, prompt caching, which reduces response times and costs. We added a prompt generator. A lot of people struggle with writing clear instructions to the bot to govern its behavior. So we actually added like a really powerful prompt generator. So you just put in kind of like your task and goal of what you want your bot to do. And then you just click a button and it actually turns it into a very detailed prompt that that helps your bot like respond a lot better. We added bot duplication, classifying answers, which kind of goes into our new agent ability too, as far as like determining if a conversation is resolved or not, because we can tell by the AI which sources it used to answer, and also whether or not it was able to provide an answer to the user. We launched 33 free AI tools. If you haven't checked those out on our website, it's actually going to be more like 40 now because we're launching a bunch more this upcoming week. So yeah, it was a busy year for us, and we got a lot of stuff still coming this year as well. I'll just give you another quick peek. We already demonstrated like the conversation view and the new widget and things like that. Just a few minor things for those of you that are like using your bots for like content writing and things like that. We've added a new temperature setting. So basically by default, we had all our bots set to pretty reserved, like a temperature of 0, because they're designed primarily for like providing like factual answers, and you wanted it to respond identical or nearly the same for the identical question, right? You don't want it to waver from that so much. But if you're not using it for customer support, maybe you're using it for content writing or more creative use cases, then you can adjust that now right in the dashboard. So you can say, I want my bot to be more creative, and now when you chat with it, it's a lot better at like writing creative content, ad copy, different things like that. And we are launching a new glossary feature. We're going to go really deep into that in one of our announcements this week. But this was a much requested one, especially for businesses where they have either kind of translation issues where users ask for a certain keyword. Maybe it's like a product name or a brand name, or just a different way of saying a common term, like in their product or in their business that users would ask, but in their documentation, it's kind of different. And generally the AI is good at understanding the intent and understanding, okay, this is equivalent to this, even across languages. But sometimes if you have special terminology in your business and special terminology in your training data, that kind of thing, then this glossary tool can really help out with that. So you can add kind of translations. So like the word, and then what that does is on the back end is when it goes to search their documentation, it actually replaces those words in their query, in their search query. It replaces those words with your proprietary words, and it uses that to, well, actually it uses a combination of both of them to do the search. But we'll share a lot more about that. So those are just some of the fun things that are going to be dropping soon. We're going to have, when you're chatting with your bot, you're going to be able to, like in ChatGPT, choose which model. So those are people who are using it for like maybe more advanced like research or content writing or things like that. They want to switch between models dynamically, including like some of these reasoning models that aren't really good for like a customer support or in a widget because they take a long time to respond. But that could be fine when you're using the bot in your dashboard and you want to get a really well thought out response that has to do a lot of reasoning or math or things like that. Yeah, so we got a lot coming up for you guys this week, so stay tuned. We're going to send out one email each day, and there's going to be like somewhere between 2 and 4 announcements in each one of those. Some of those you got previews of today, and some of them are still going to be a surprise. Yeah. So before we go, I wish my camera was working, guys, but it's not, unfortunately. It's just me frozen, but that's me. I'm going to do a quick Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll try to answer. So a few of them that I've seen so far is we had Lance, he asked, we have a progressive web app and would love to have this feature available, but the blue button placement conflicts with the app's UI buttons. Is there a way to provide users access to it without using a button in the lower left to right corner? Something we can define. So actually there already is, and I can show that to you. I'll share my screen again. In the widget settings, You can embed it either as like a chat widget that's floating, or you can embed it into the actual content of, say, your progressive web app. One way of doing that is an iframe, but if you want to have full customization, you can do embedding into the page content. So right here in the documentation, it tells you how to do that. And basically, you just create a HTML element that has this specific ID name. And when our script detects that that's present, then instead of making a floating widget, on your page with the button and all that stuff, it'll actually embed it directly into your content. And we do have a number of customers that are using that within their app. So they may have like a dashboard. I think WriteDocs may do something like that. So they did a lot of embedding. So they put like stats in their own dashboard. They put their own version of our question logs using our APIs in their dashboard. But I know we do have some customers that have embedded like our chat widget using that technique directly like in their sidebar or somewhere within their actual application. So it doesn't have the little floating button or anything like that, but it actually looks like it's a seamless part of their app. Yeah. So the answer is yes, you can already do that, Lance. And you can find that in our widget documentation. Let's see, another question. We just started adopting the product in the past 2 months. We have a set of maybe 10 to 15 questions that customers will generally ask. We have created some support materials that generally can get the bot to recognize, answer these questions. What are some strategies we should be adopting to try to make sure they get the correct answers? So honestly, you don't really need a strategy for that. Like once you train your bot, it does a really good job of like kind of recognizing what the question they're asking and which sources, which of your FAQs would provide the best answer. And so generally that just works out of the box, depending on how you trained it, using our Q&A type, or if you like uploaded raw data, or even if it was just like a document that you put in there. Those all work pretty well for that. And if you do have specific problems with like a question, you can fine tune it using our fine tuning feature, like within your chat logs. And now if it's something to do with like terminology or something that's making it hard for it to look up that data, you can use our newly launched glossary tool to help with that too. So yeah. I think that answers that. Any other questions that we have? I see John said the grouping of questions looks great in conversations. Another thing that's going to be really neat about this conversation view is topics. So before, we have our topic reports for business accounts, to where once a month we would look at all the questions that users asked. The trouble with that was many of the responses are not actually questions. They would be something else, like saying hello or hi or thank you or stuff like that. So it would work. It wouldn't give the best results. But now with our conversations, it's much more important, instead of having like a topic by question, is having topics by conversation, because that's kind of what your customers are doing. They're chatting with the bot, and you kind of want to know the overview. So now that we'll be using AI to generate summaries of conversations, you'll actually be able to have it automatically categorize conversations by topic. So we'll let the AI decide kind of on default topics on its own, but you'll be able to also customize that in the dashboard to provide like specific topics for it to categorize as. So that way in your stats, when you're looking at your reports and things like that for your bot, you'll be able to see like cool charts, like, okay, what are the topics and things that people are asking about? Kind of like we have in our monthly question topic reports, but it will be based on conversations instead. Yeah, any other questions? Oh, we teased you with the voice mode. Yes. I would like to launch it. Like if you've watched the YouTube video, we have a kind of YouTube video where we're playing with the new real-time voice mode for bots, and that could be a thing that we launch. Yeah, we'll just have to play. Really, it depends on customer demand. Just being able to like talk to your bot, like if it's embedded on a website, I don't think from our testing things like that people would really do that. I think it's a much better fit for like phone support, which maybe that's a direction that we go if we have enough demand from our customers that they want to be able to connect their DocsBot, to their phone line or whatever to handle that front line kind of thing. There are a ton of startups and stuff that do that already. So we're just kind of trying to decide like what's the best path forward in that, but that's definitely a possibility. Yeah. Okay. And I see another feedback from Amachai saying he wants that. All right, I hear you. Let's see, another question. We often want to evaluate how well our bot is working. Are there any tools, processes we can use for automated testing of our bots after we change or update materials? Thought right now is we build a script and then use an AI to evaluate the script. Just wondering if there's any other strategies, tool sets we should be looking at. That's a very good question. So the technical term for that in the AI world is evals. So that's something we do internally. We have kind of a data set from our own data that we've created of like based on this training data and based on this, basically it's just a giant database of questions and answers. And then when we make a change in our code, like we change which model we use or we change the prompts that we use internally, things like that. It's really hard to determine like, okay, did that make my answers better or worse? Are we like making things worse, or is this going to be an improvement or not? So that's why we have evals for that, to where we can run a script and it actually just runs through all those questions and tests it like kind of against whatever our new software change is. And then it can use different methods like AI and things like that to kind of evaluate if the answer is accurate or not accurate, or if it's improved or gotten worse. So that definitely makes sense for our customers too, I think. When it comes to you making changes to your prompts, you're making changes to your training data. And right now, basically, the way you see that is more kind of manual, like by reviewing your chat logs or by looking at kind of your overall stats. Like, for example, we have a customer, amazing customer, and they have a ton of support requests. And they have DocsBot handling their frontline support, and they've been rolling it out to more and more of their product line. And basically, when they started just training off their documentation, they were getting about I think about 70% like resolution rate, which is huge in itself. That's how much money does that save them from hiring extra support staff and things like that. But basically, they just kind of dedicated some of their support staff to actually going through and reviewing the logs periodically, like once a week, once a month. And they go through, and if there was like something where the bot couldn't answer, then they would revise those answers just right there in the logs. And by doing that, just over the course of a matter of weeks and a few months, they're able to increase that rate to like, I think almost 90% is what I had heard. So now they view their support team as being almost like they're AI masters instead of like support teams. So basically their job is to support the AI who's supporting the users, because it's just so much more efficient for them, and they're able to do that. So definitely there is a lot of manual stuff to that, but you can use our current stats and the current filters in our logs, like filtering by whether the bot could answer or not, things like that, to kind of get an idea how you're improving the documentation over time. And by using our, for the business plan, our monthly question topic reports, those identify like the main topics of your problem question. So that helps you improve your documentation over time as well. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long. But we do want to do a quick giveaway. We're going to give away 2 t-shirts. You got like a 1 in 5 chance. So Claire's going to do kind of a random draw of the names of people here, and we'll try to get a hold of you and see if you want a t-shirt, and we'll ship that out to you. I've got one on right now, but you can't see me, unfortunately. But yeah, well, thank you everyone so much for joining, and be on the lookout. We're going to post this video on YouTube so that you can go back if you want to review it. And then each day this next week, we're going to be announcing everything in high detail. All right. Thank you for joining, and thanks if you're a customer of DocsBot. Thank you so much. We love you. All right. Bye-bye.